Welcome to Distribution Talk with Jason Bader, the show where we dive into the stories, struggles, and solutions from business owners and thought leaders in the wholesale distribution market. In the last episode, I spoke with Chris and Ryan about what AI can do and what these AI agents can do just more from a practical side and maybe a little futuristic. But we stayed pretty grounded. You know, what agents are, how they plug into an ERP or maybe even CRM data, and where they could take workload off of the salespeople, the customer service folks, and operations. And if you haven't already, I recommend you go back and listen to that part one. Now in part two, we're going to shift gears because once agents start sounding human, remembering context, and even carrying someone's likeness, the questions get a whole lot bigger. This isn't just about efficiency anymore. It's about trust, identity, and the future of what work looks like in distribution. This episode is brought to you by Connected Peers, an online peer collaboration platform for distribution professionals. Let's face it, most managers don't have the opportunity to speak with their industry peers about common challenges in their departments. Sure, they might see each other at an annual conference, but that hardly provides any real relationship building or continuity. What if there was a forum to solve challenges with those in your same role? Well, now there is. The concept is simple. Purchasing managers meeting with purchasing managers, training managers meeting with training managers, marketing managers meeting with marketing managers. You get the idea. There are 10 unique role-based communities to choose from. These are monthly, facilitated meetings all via Zoom. Ask questions and receive feedback from people who understand the challenges of your position. Isn't it time that you quit going it alone? To learn more and find your peers, visit us at www.connectedpeers.com. So pretty natural. Pretty natural in the interaction. So I'm listening for huge gaps or latency of some sort. You know, it seems to be kind of on par with a lot of the conversations I have with ChatGPT, which is kind of a weird thing to say, but my little conversations with the Gen AI, but I've really started to treat them as conversations because I think you get so much more out of any AI when you actually physically start to treat it as a conversation with, dare say, another person. You know, it's a little goofy person, doesn't really have arms, legs, and whatnot, but a person. But I think that felt very natural to me. And I think that now, let me just go a little further here. The more times that you interact with that agent starts to pick up your personality. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yeah. So the more and more that you talk to it, the more and more that, it's going to learn. So it's constantly learning behind the scenes. And obviously, it has access to all the data and all the information. So it's able to then provide, new recommendations and for you as you, go to your next account or for this account later. Tomorrow those things might be different based on orders that came through today.
So this isn't pre-programmed response, and I think that's the point I'm trying to make here. It's not pre-programmed response. There's actual machine learning going on here.
Correct.
Okay. And you are training the agent every time you have a conversation with it.
All the time. We're looking at all of the AI summaries of the conversations. We're doing an assessment of, pain points in the conversation. Where did it have struggle? Where did it not have the answers that it should have had? How do we provide it with more information? So it's constantly, improving, and we're really trying to get to the point where, for the most part, you have a conversation. You're like, wow, that was really insightful. Like, I'm not sure what else could it have done. This is
right.
Wild,
This is pretty darn good. Yeah, this is pretty awesome. So you all have also done some work where, again, kind of looking at how we would use these products for outbound calls. And we've both said Agent Chris, Agent Ryan. You have built Agent Chris here.
Yes.
And so tell us about Agent Chris. How did that whole thing come about? And, what would you do with something like a cloning or agent of yourself?
Yeah, I think it's a little creepy. Okay.
We're going to say full on creepy.
Yeah.
But,
it's a little creepy, but so I've been a software guy for a long time.
Yeah.
Came from kind of a technical family. One of the kids that watched Star Trek growing up. Okay. They had this character on Star Trek named Data.
Yes.
And it's like the android on the bridge or whatever. And there was this one episode I remember distinctly from when I was a kid where I can't remember if they were being taken over by aliens or something like this, but Data had to issue a command in the captain's voice in order for the computer to do something. So, the Captain Picard would always say, computer, do da-da-da, and it would be in his voice. And it was like a voice-coded thing, right? So Data speaks in the captain's voice and then was able to accomplish something. And it just blew my mind. I remember being a kid, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's going to be a day that technology, like, somebody thought of that, so that's going to happen. Like,
right.
So we're going to have that at some point in our careers, right? And so here we are, all these years later. It's probably 30 plus years later, and now we've got the ability to not only clone a voice, but you can have this voice say anything the agent needs to say, right?
Right.
In your mannerisms, even.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realize how sophisticated that can be. But if you can have something that generally kind of sounds like you and kind of has a lot of your mannerisms, and if you needed to hire an assistant, what better assistant than the one that sounds and acts just like you,
thinks
right?
like you,
and it's great.
If
you're going to call in, and let's say I'm on a call with a customer, and you call me right now, would you be okay if instead of my voicemail you got my agent? And it is this, hey Jason, thanks for calling in. Hey, Chris is on the phone right now, but I've got you. What can I help you with? Right? And you're going to be like, well, what could it be? Take a note, take an order, do this, do that. But it's going to be better than leaving a message on the voicemail, right?
For sure.
There's all these use cases where using someone's actual likeness is going to become, we think, a very big thing.
Oh, use the word likeness. So this takes us to a very interesting and weird spot here. So this is something, Ryan and I talked about. He just kind of threw this out. And of course, it's been noodling around in my head for a long time, Love sports, love college sports. Not sure if NIL and transfer portals have really done great things for the sport, but neither here nor there. But I think it brought up an interesting question or subject, kind of a future thought. What if you created this agent, right? And it sounds like you, and if it's video based, it looks like you, their gestures. I mean, all of these things has a lot of your knowledge because you've been training it for a while and you've been in talking to it. How soon could we say, let's let the agent go be the salesperson and let's let it go and do this work for me? Well, all right, so we can do that. And it sounds like that's very doable. I mean, especially in pretty, low risk situations and whatnot. When the agent does that, can I license my agent? Can I license my likeness? Very similar to the name, image, and likeness thing in college sports right now. A lot of money in NIL deals. Could a salesperson license their agent back to the company and essentially get paid commissions and not have to do anything really? You kind of see where I'm going with this thing? It's kind of weird.
We
I
think
know.
this is going to be fascinating. And I think it's going to open up, as much as people would say, hey, when you bring on, more and more AI, these jobs are going to go away. No, I actually think there's going to be a lot of opportunity, but in just different ways.
I think so too. Yeah.
And, an NIL deal for an agent, for
a salesperson.
General salesperson.
Yes.
That's super charismatic. Everyone loves this guy's voice, his personality, the way he is, his mannerisms, the way he conversates. We think that those are going to be huge use cases.
Well, and companies don't want to lose their 20-year veteran that holds all the relationships.
100%.
Right? They don't want that person to go away. They don't want him to retire. What do you mean retire? Well, we'll keep you on.
We're going to keep you. We're going to keep Agent Ryan on.
Keep Agent Ryan on.
Well, Agent Ryan is out, on the beach.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're going to compensate you. Now, maybe it's not going to be at a full commission rate, but it's going to be some sort of licensing deal. And, again, you don't want to lose that institutional knowledge, the relationships, and all of those things. Yeah, it's just fascinating. So I don't know if you all remember me. Maybe I'm aging myself pretty heavily. Back in the 80s, early 80s, there was a movie called Looker. And it was Michael Crichton of the, Jurassic World and whatnot. He did this movie where models, female models or probably male models as well, would license their image and their voice and all the thing. It was a scan of their body, and then they became, they went into ads and they were used. Well, I remember, I was thinking about this when agents started to come around. I'm like, I've seen this movie before. I have seen this before. fascinating look at something that was thought of. I mean, we're going back, 40 years at this point. It's scary to say. 40 years looking, that this was considered that we would have people likenesses. All of a sudden, you're licensing them to do the same work. In this case, now this was kind of a dark thriller in that they were killing off the models once they did, so they didn't have to pay commissions down the trail. Not gonna go there too far. Awesome movie, I need to rewatch. But the point is, though, that this is not terribly far-fetched.
Yeah, it's wild. It's actually wild.
It's crazy, man. Yeah.
One of the big challenges we hear every single day is when you have these folks who are, these great, charismatic, longtime people who've got this big book of business and they're leaving. There's no one to hand it to. There's literally no one backstopping these people.
Right.
And it's not for lack of trying. They're trying to bring people in. The work quality is not what it once was.
Right.
The changing of the guard in terms of bringing in that next generation means that next generation has that many more assumptions about what you've done technically, right? Because they grew up in a different type. These are kids who grew up with the iPad in their hand, or they grew up with cell phones. We didn't have those kind of issues. And they have expectations that are different. And so, you come in, you do an interview at a company. How many times have you seen somebody come and do an interview at a company and then they sit down in front of a green screen terminal and they're told this is how you're going to do your job? And that still happens.
Oh, chewy characters, and they're just like, what is wrong with you people?
Yeah, and the younger generation, they really care a lot about what is the technology I'm going to use, because they're using Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and all these other things during the day, and now you're going to sit me down in front of what now? Right? It better look like what I'm used to using. And so there's this challenge, all these hurdles that we've got to get over. Well, the agents can really smooth a lot of these things over.
Yeah, I think, as much as I would love to go down the rabbit hole of NIL deals for salespeople, I think that could be an entire, show on its own. But I will tell you, I literally, going back to that mention about, having a conversation with an AI. I think I shared with you guys that, on my flight from Denver to Detroit, man, I am engrossed in a conversation with my AI talking about the ethical considerations and how we could put together NIL deals. And maybe I'm going to be the AI agent's agent, and I'm going to negotiate these deals with distributors and all of this stuff. But I was going deep. Deep into this stuff. And it was fascinating. But I think that's an ethical consideration. That's something that we are going to have to think about as agents become much more prevalent and they become much more adopted and really accepted on the customer side. That maybe we will see a deal, a day where there is a name, image, and likeness type of contract with a distributor. And then you can go into questions of, I don't want to go into questions. Never mind. I don't want to go as deep. I think everybody in the audience, though, can really sit back and imagine, what would this do in my company? Yeah. How could that world be? Imagine if you're a salesperson, wow, now I have a path where I can have passive income someday.
Yeah.
Which is not always the case.
I think, too, in terms of the company that's running that, why they want that, they want, what people are wanting right now is they want to have a little bit of affinity and likeness with that agent so that there's a connection. There's still a connection between that agent and the consumer, because without that, if you don't have that connection, that spark, it can be a lot of challenge. I think what we're going to find over the next several years is as agents are improving and their behavior and mannerism is improving, and they're already getting to the point where you can barely tell the difference between an agent and a human in conversation. But then the functionality and what they have access to and the capability that they have is also growing. And over the coming years, we're going to find that the trend becomes people are perfectly fine with this. And that's something that I think is mind-blowing, because even just a couple of years ago, people would say, I don't want to talk to, a bot. Call into there was a time I remember recently I called into my local pizza joint and a bot picked up to take the order. And it was like so annoying. I'm like, oh my gosh, are you really going to try and do that? And then, now I'm a Taco Bell guy, which is probably not good, but I go in the Taco Bell drive-through line, the AI takes the order, and I've watched it over the last year, improve in its capabilities. And no, I want to order this. Oh, I changed my mind. I want to order this instead. No, I'll take this away. Oh yeah, let me add this on there. whatever you throw at it, it's doing, and
it
order
doesn't
matches
care.
And
it doesn't get
care.
pissed at you for for being that guy.
And I'm like, okay. And it took the order fast. And by the way, I didn't have to wait for the teller to become available. Right.
Right.
Yeah. And I actually, at one point, I thought to myself, like, oh no, the risk is like, oh, did we just kill another job? And so I go up to the window and I ask the gal at the window, hey, what do you guys think of this thing? And she said, this is wonderful. This is the thing that everyone here hates, is taking these orders at the drive-thru. It's one of the worst jobs that we have. It's so good that it can be done quickly, efficiently, the order's accurate, and we're able to do what we need to do over here and get these orders out. And it's, staffing that role's always been intensely difficult, and nobody likes it. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh. It turns out that the humans want to do things that are they want to do the great job. They don't want to do the busy grunt work type jobs, right?
Right.
So let's free up that human ingenuity and put it into places where it is going to thrive.
Something just dawned on me. What about language barriers? I mean, I think there's a smoothing of that. If you have somebody non-native English speaker, or they want to order in their own language.
Yeah, the language actually thing is amazing.
It is.
These agents are speaking over 70 languages now.
That's crazy.
So, and immediately, what's wild is you don't even need to program the agent to say, hey, if they start speaking in French or if they start speaking in Spanish, it just intuitively knows they just spoke to me in this language, so I'm going to respond in that language now.
That's crazy.
And then what the part is that I think is really wild is you'll then be able to get a summary of that conversation and all the activities that the person asked for in whatever the default language is that you want. So if that person you're talking to, a Chinese-speaking customer or Spanish-speaking customer,
right,
or a Spanish-speaking rep, a lot of the companies that we deal with have, Hispanic workforce, or they've got a variety of different types of, facing off to different nationalities, et cetera. You can have agents that speak in essentially those dialects, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take the information and then get it into the system in English where the leadership is going to be able to see exactly what happened.
Imagine, a whole community. So again, I grew up in the construction supply business, so I'm around, contractors. That was my world. And the different groups, the different ethnic groups that would populate the construction world. And you would have... Wouldn't it be amazing so that they could call in anybody and they could call in their native language so they're not struggling to find the right English word to make this work. Call in your native language and have that agent speaking back to you in your native language. And
it cuts the barrier.
Oh, it cuts the barrier. And all of a sudden I'm calling this again and again and again because I feel comfortable.
We have a customer right now out of Houston and anywhere in the South.
Yes.
This issue is really prevalent.
Yeah.
And that it's another one where they've got a big wait time, big hold time. And then when you do finally get to that rep, does that rep speak Spanish? Not always. And now you got to go back on hold while they find somebody that can take the call. It's horrible. It's the experience of that. Just imagine, wouldn't it be so much better if you could just get on the phone right now with an agent that can speak your language, knows most of the answers, and when it doesn't, it relays that to the human for escalation. And you can get off the phone then and move on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then that company can dispatch whatever needs to happen on their end.
It's also the same with thick accents. A lot of teams struggle. I've had many conversations where people say when we see a certain phone number calling in, nobody wants to answer it because they struggle to have the conversation with this person. So they, and the agent does an exceptional job cutting through that and understands everything that they're saying. So the thick accent is also handled better by the agent. And also, Chris, to your point, I've been in a Taco Bell drive-thru with you before, and there's a lot of change requests that come through. So I totally it's best for everybody that the agent handles that and that the person isn't having to handle the change requests.
This episode of Distribution Talk is sponsored by InSQL Distribution Software. InSQL is a fully functional distribution-based software package. I say distribution-based because that's important. Many alternatives out there say they do distribution, but they really aren't very good at it. They're generally watered-down manufacturing packages with a few distribution features tacked on. I only recommend software packages that were purpose-built to serve distribution, and these folks do it very well at a price point many smaller distributors can afford. If you're ready to step up to a fully loaded, scalable distribution package at an affordable price, look no further than InSQL Distribution Software at www.insql.com. That's INXSQL.com. wholesale.com. Obviously, these things aren't free.
Right.
Obviously, when somebody says, you know what, I want to try, for example, trying out, the dormant account scenario that we just described here. Not free. But let's talk about the return on investment. This is another one of those technology stack. We throw this bad boy on there. How do we get the return on investment for these products?
It's the irony in it is we did the math on this. We do the math on this all the time. It's roughly the cost of like 1/10, maybe 1/7 of what an FTE would be to run an agent full time. But that differential is when Ryan was talking about earlier is that agent never stops, right?
Right.
So imagine hiring an FTE that has got full productivity, right? So from a cost standpoint, the agent is tremendously economical. For whatever it's doing, it's cents, to do these type of activities, or fractions of a cent to do these type of activities. And what it allows you to do is start thinking about things differently. Like there's things that you wish you were doing in your business right now. Like let's say you've got, hundreds of POs out, like a lot of these companies do.
Yeah.
And they just want to get a general status on them.
Right.
I'm not going to hire another person just to call these guys and get that status. It's just not something I'm going to, kind of waste my money on, right? If you think about it. But can you have an agent do that very economically? Absolutely. And can you get all those statuses done today? Yes. So
and
that
very
changes
quickly
the game.
in like, 20 minutes.
So imagine
or
now
less.
you had this one little feature called, weekly PO status checks, right? Or daily checks based on the outstanding days of these POs, right? Or status checks on payments that are owed to you. Mm-hmm. Status checks on just checking with a customer that, that they should have made an order by now in this one scenario, but they didn't. What's going on? All those little things that you wish you could just scale by saying, I wish I had a person that would do that, right? Not only are you having trouble finding those people right now, but you don't necessarily want to spend 50, 70, 100,000, on an FTE to do that. But you might be able to spend $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 on an agent and get that activity done in volume.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great point, because, small, medium businesses are near and dear to my heart. That is why I love privately held small and medium businesses. And because I really want them to be able to compete and punch above their weight belt, and compete with the bigger kids out there who have millions of dollars to throw at technology. I want solutions that are economical. And so if you're talking about a couple of thousand, maybe $3,000 a month, way cheaper than hiring an individual who is actually, and the agent becomes much more productive at that point, depending on, what you train it and how you allow it to do its job. But yeah, that starts to get really affordable all of a sudden.
Yeah, Ryan and I talk about this all the time. Like this technology is like the great equalizer, right?
It is. Yeah, you're essentially able to take and say, okay, I've got a team right now that's giving me this many hours. I want to double that hour output.
Yeah.
Right? And you can do that at 70% discount versus having to go put a butt in that seat to do that. Right? And then there's all the things on top of that we mentioned where you're actually probably getting more productive hours out of the day from the agent than you are from the person. So you're actually even getting more value.
And the people, the beauty of that too is the people that are doing the jobs they're doing like their jobs that much more because they don't have to do the busy work side of the job, right?
Exactly.
It's like if you had an assistant all day just booking you into meetings, it would be phenomenal. And you're just having the conversations and you can just go to the next thing.
Yes.
So imagine a phenomenon where instead of doing all the busy work, that's all gone now.
Yeah.
The agent's taking the busy work, got rid of that, doing it effectively, and you're able to do the fun part of the job. And you're able to cover 2, 3, 4 times as many accounts. It's absolutely bonkers.
Absolutely. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think, one thing that dawned on me is, you think about what do we do with those extra hours? Well, if the person's a CSR, for example, if they're in the, in the sales realm, then we can say, go out for revenue generation, create, relationships and whatnot, but in other aspects, I think it also opens up a window for training. Because I think that's one of the big things that a lot of companies, they don't participate in training as much as they could because they don't feel like they have the time to dedicate to training. Well, I'm going to carve you out some time now. I'm going to give you some time to go into training and to really improve the skill sets of the people because I'm not forcing them to do all this busy work.
Yeah, I think a lot of team members, feel overwhelmed with the amount of the busy work that they have, and that's causing them to feel, I just don't have time to do these other things. And actually, if you just slow down for a minute and realized what's going on in your day-to-day and how you can resolve those things, you're getting that much more value out of, the equation. So whether it be bringing in agents, whether it be how to focus your time, and I know that in your practice, when you do these, the training sessions for these companies, you know the value because you're sitting with these team members. It's like, this is the first time you're hearing this and you've been working here for 2, 3, 4, 5 years and you've never heard this before.
Oh, 2 or 3 decades.
Right. And they don't spend enough time in the training. And if they did, they would get that ROI immediately.
Absolutely. And, frankly, they could collaborate a little bit more, talk to each other, role play scenarios, all kinds of stuff. And just have that time to actually absorb what they're doing for a living and try to find ways to be better at that. So, I think I can see that for sure. I mean, and again, we're not talking about ridiculous amounts of money. This is not $100,000 investment. This is not trust me, in my family, we have bought $500,000 boat anchors, and from a technology standpoint. And you just go, so you cringe sometimes. You think about it. It's like, I like this where it's very economical.
And you're paying for what you use and consume. The beauty of this type of a model, if it's working and you're getting value out of it, then you'll do more of that thing, just like anything else, right? What's so upsetting is when you get a piece of software and you're spending money, whether it's on a seat fee or whatever, the annual bill might be on the piece of software, and it's not being used. And people are not getting value out of it. And you're questioning, why should I renew this thing? You never really have that thought with the agents because they're doing effective work, and you can actually figure out calculate, this is how much it cost me to do that unit of work. Did that make sense? Yeah, it sure did, because it's generally way less than what it would be otherwise.
So you alluded to something about people feeling better about their jobs because you were eliminating the busy work. But I think anytime we're around AI, I mean, the fear comes up, it's going to replace my job. How do we mitigate that?
I think that's the natural assumption that everyone makes, is that their company, I think especially within the working ranks of the company, people are so terrified of it because, I heard that this, company brought in a technology and then they were able to do. So what we try and focus on is how do we get highest and best value out of our team members, right? Yeah. Very few of the companies we're speaking with are saying to us, hey, we're just trying to cut heads. Of course, everyone is trying to cut costs at all times. All these companies want to be as lean as possible, but they also want to grow. They want to service their accounts better, smarter, faster. If the agent can add to that ecosystem in a way and in a manner in which you're getting more value out of the team that you have, the natural expectation that you would have that you're going to cut the team, that actually doesn't generally happen. What we find is these guys will invest in the growth of the team. Actually, they'll put more people because if you think about it, right, what ROI are you getting out of every headcount today? If you were getting a 2x ROI on that headcount, would that headcount be more valuable to you? And generally the answer is yes. So you start thinking, I can cover more accounts. I can cover more territory. Well, it turns out, we're not just going to be in Tennessee now. We're going to go next door. We're going to go to this. We're going to expand into the mid, we're going to go north. We're going to go, I was only going to open up 2 states next year. Now I think I'm going to open up 7. Right. So that's the type of things that are happening with the agent.
I think, again, though, it just really has to be discussed and sold inside the team in the right way, that this is not a replacement. I mean, there's that, justification is like, AI will not replace people. AI will replace people who don't understand AI. I mean, and I think that's something to kind of throw out. And so it's a bit of a scare tactic, that you better get on board, or else you are going to get left behind. But
no, to your point, that is the reality.
It's reality.
Ironically, some of the biggest companies out there, the big national companies that are, they've got better pricing than you've got. They've got, better access than you've got. They've got a bigger SKU count than you have. They can get it to the customer faster and quicker because they're closer to the customer and all their DCs. It's already difficult enough to compete against these guys, right? Those are also the guys that do not embrace this technology very quickly. And so this creates an advantage for those small to medium-sized businesses. That bread and butter account that's, doing 10, 20, 30, 40, $50 million a year, and they're getting their business going, and they're at such an extreme disadvantage in terms of pricing and margin and all these other factors. And now all of a sudden they've got a technology that they can bring in that's going to change the game. And they can compete on even better, it's really leveling the playing field. And that's what we talk about all the time.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, again, it's really hard to turn the battleship, in some of these organizations. But if you're small and nimble and can deploy technologies like this, I think you have a fighting shot. But yeah, it's just, again, it has to be sold. It has to be shared in a way that people are less threatened by it. And again, I think that is probably the biggest challenge for leadership in these companies as they're wanting to look at these types of technologies, is they have to understand that change management. They have to understand people, is to try to mitigate fear. I think that is going to be the toughest challenge for any of this.
And people to understand that they can really get that economy of scale out of a product like this is really critical. Because everyone has got this initiative, the last few years. Hey, bring AI into the business. We need to do AI, right?
Yeah.
How many AI projects have you launched and you've seen crash and burn? Well, because we said use ChatGPT, and it's going okay. Yeah, we're using AI, right? And so if the definition of AI in your business is you guys are using an LLM to have conversations and generate some emails, that's great. Keep doing that, right? But there's a whole bunch of other technology coming that you've really got to start looking at.
Oh, for sure. In specific application-based, stuff for distribution. Again, we can push aside all the commercials we see because there are, folks like you all and all of the folks that I see at that conference that I attend, with you all in June, is I see a lot of different people that are hyper-focused on pain points in distribution. And I think those are the things that, keep beating that drum. Is like, look, we're not that big thing that's going to theoretically, take over the world. It's, but we are going to remove pain points.
Absolutely.
And we're going to make individuals' jobs easier and better.
And what we found is you have an arsenal of these different recipes. The beauty of this technology is the recipes that you've got in your cookbook, so to speak, that you bring into all these deals.
Right.
So what are some of the things that these customers are having pain point on, and can you address that?
Right.
And all you need to really have is one, as a company, if you're thinking about how to bring this type of technology in, because we get this question all the time.
Yeah.
We do webinars on this. In fact, we've got some webinars coming up that we'll share where we teach about AI and how you decide what to bring in, right? Because this is one of the biggest things is if you're going to bring AI into your company, where do you start, right? Where are the low-hanging fruit opportunities? Where can you do integrations? Where, what does your data quality look like? There's all these kind of starting points. And so what we really help people distill down is if you've got certain recipes that you can deliver that are going to solve certain pain points right away, it's very easy for you to take and make a list and say, hey, what are the top, 5, 10 areas where we can create the most value? Just choose one. Do a pilot. Take these for a spin, and you can do that. This is the thing that people don't understand. Is it going to be really complicated to get this in? Like, no, it's really not. It's, the agents are very good at communicating. The integrations are very easy, and you can start to demonstrate value. And when you can demonstrate value up to the leadership chain, it becomes a very easy, and you can also demonstrate value down to the lower ranks in the team. So everyone is able to see what is the productive value, what is this thing doing to help me, right? And what are the benefits that are coming to the company? It's obvious to everyone up and down the chain that this is the right thing to do.
Interesting. So I think it really kind of jumps in when you all start this relationship with a company who might be interested in deploying your product. It really starts with a consultative discussion.
It is.
I mean, you're trying to tease out what is that pain point that we should try. What is that pilot, if you will.
Yeah, and that's what we like the best, right? At a company, you would think that we just want to just sling software all day.
Sure,
and,
sure.
Listen, we enjoy what we do, but the most enjoyment that we get out of what we do is working with our customer to understand their issue and their challenge, and kind of translate that into that sounds. Your issue here sounds a lot like this other situation that we had, and here's how we handled that.
Right.
You're getting just that much more value out of just the understanding of this problem that you're having. It may be unique in a lot of ways, but it's also something that we've probably seen in different ways, and we can bring some value to the table on how we've solved similar types of problems, right? So you're getting this, it's even a best practice on how to staff it.
Yeah.
What should the humans be doing? What should the agents be doing?
Right.
What are other companies like you doing? Right. So that's fabulous. We enjoy that.
Yeah, it's beyond the SaaS payment. It is the, seeing that light bulb turn on. That is, and again, that's why I teach. That's why I do stuff. And it sounds to me like a lot of what you all are doing in that initial conversation is looking for the light bulb. When's that light bulb going to, jump up and go, oh, okay. They're starting to pull, they're starting to envision a better world for themselves.
Yeah, we enjoy being problem solvers.
Right.
At the end of the day, that's
Absolutely.
actually the joy in what we do, and we have a very symbiotic relationship with our customer, right? Because if the agents aren't working, if the solution's not working, why would you want it? Why would you want to keep something like that installed, right? So we've really deliberately gone to a great extent to make sure that what we're able to deliver is going to solve these problems, right?
Yeah.
And to bring value.
So I know we've got to land the plane here. We're getting a little long in the tooth here, but again, full on AI geek. I love talking about this stuff. That just fascinates me. But I think you had told me, Ryan, that you all have developed a whole bunch of these agents already. To share with people. How many? Can you share with me approximately how many?
Approximately, I would say we probably have 30 to 50.
Okay.
Different agents that have different, and now you could take the use case and you could tweak it just a little bit, and now you've got 51, right? So and everyone's doing things a little bit differently. So we've created recipes for base agents that can do most of the tasks that we've talked to customers about. Or prospects about. We've had a lot of conversations, and everyone is very quick to raise their hand and say, hey, can I do this? Can I do that? Can you add this? Can I customize it to do it this way?
Right.
And so we've been doing this now for quite some time, and so we have quite a stable of agents that are very capable, that have a lot of tools built that they can use to do a lot of the tasks that people need that are high value. And if there's one that we don't have, then, those are conversations we love to have, because it's usually a little tweak to something that we have to create the variation that they need. So most of what the requests are, we pretty much have covered.
Well, I think, and this is something we talked about last night at dinner, how fast you can make that tweak and how fast you create a new agent application. That's amazing to me. What used to take weeks and weeks and weeks of development, you all can do in a very condensed period of time.
Yeah, if you look at your standard kind of onboarding in the software, and these type of solutions in the past, it could have been 30 to 60 days. They'll say, okay, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, this type of thing. And now it's, a couple days at most. These are the technology, the way the integrations work, the way the recipes work. And also using AI in the technology on the build side has changed the game.
One thing, again, I just want to make clear. We talked about you all being originally a CRM company. Can these agents work only with your technology? Or, what if somebody already has one? They've already invested in a CRM, and they're, hundreds of $1,000s deep in this thing, and you come in like, oh, no, you got to use our product.
Yeah, the Works platform, we've developed it as an automation suite. And so if you don't have a system, or if your system isn't doing, you're not happy with it, you can certainly use our system fully, whether it be from the CRM side, e-commerce, the ERP functionality. Most customers, though, that have been in business that are doing 10, 20, 30, 40, $50 million or more, they have systems already.
Yeah.
And even if they dislike their system, which is almost 100% of the people that we talk to, there's a lot of pain in pulling that system out.
That's right.
It's not what they're looking for. So I think when we come in, in some of our most recent conversations, it's a breath of fresh air, because people are saying, we were going to change ERPs, or we were going to change CRMs, and now we're thinking we don't necessarily have to do that, because we can just bolt these things on. And I think this is going to solve a lot of the problems that we're having. So we're finding more and more. We have integrations with hundreds of different companies. It's actually interesting how many different companies there are that run software. But if you name it, we've either seen it or we probably have an integration for it already.
So yours is basically headless. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what CRM somebody's running. Okay,
what their CRM is, what their ERP is, if they've got warehouse management, if they've got an order system separate from that, if they've got financials running in different reports, whatever you've got in terms of sourcing, it's likely we've already integrated with it, or we can do it very quickly.
So you talked about webinars, and you've got some webinars out there. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the best way to learn more about this type of technology, we run webinars at weekly intervals, and we talk about AI topics all the time. So we're doing agent builds, we're doing information about how the infrastructure works, what are some of the key things that you've got to be looking at, what are some of the things that you need to do assessments on in your own company, and how you think about bringing this type of technology in. I encourage people to reach out to us because we're not just going to try and sell you things. We're going to have conversations, see if things are a good fit, and understand where you can get practical value. So if you really want to have that conversation where you just want to explore what is possible and where you can get value, reach out. We're happy to have that conversation.
So we'll leave it in the show notes, but again, where can somebody go immediately to go look for the, register for these, get
Just
involved?
jump on worked.com. It's workd.com.
Okay.
You'll get all the information there. A lot of information on the website.
Fascinating conversation, guys. Always a pleasure to hook back up with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show and to kind of share some of this stuff with us.
Thanks for having us. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks. Thank you for listening. If you liked what you heard, consider sharing with your friends and colleagues. And don't forget to follow the show on your favorite podcast application. Links to sponsors, products, and services mentioned during this episode can be found in the show description area or at www.distributiontalk.com. Distribution Talk is edited and mixed by the brilliant team at the Creative Imposter Studios. This episode was brought to you by my company, the Distribution Team. We are a consulting services firm dedicated to helping wholesale distribution clients remove barriers to profitability, generate wealth, and achieve personal goals. To learn more about how we can help your company succeed, check us out at www.thedistributionteam.com.